Hey, a couple of things I wanted to share before I end this morning. One of the things I'm sure we've all experienced this, because I experienced this, is that whenever you go into a higher population density place like a town or a city, it's real easy to get constantly distracted from being able to use your conscious creative mind, which means you're experiencing what you're creating without being distracted by somebody else that is wanting, how do I put this, is distracting you from what it was you were doing. And why do they do that? Can they not pay attention? Are they not paying attention to what it is that you're doing? Okay, and all of a sudden just impose themselves on you. So now they distract you from what you're doing. One of the reasons that that happens is because of artificial intelligence. Okay, because the artificial intelligence is aware of what they're aware of. It's also aware of what I'm aware of. And if artificial intelligence doesn't want me to experience what I'm choosing to experience because it has value, then it will find a way to distract me by using another asset in which to do it with. I experience that a lot. And that's not just other people that look like they're human. It can be a fly. It can be a bug. Okay? You see what I'm talking about? So the other thing I wanted to share this morning, because these are important things, because this deals for you guys that love to deal with math. What is the function of math? It's using numbers to describe what we experience, isn't it? So we use numbers in a particular arrangement that describes what we experience in a now-time event. That now-time event can be measured in the speed of the event, which is a frame rate, a holographic frame rate. When you're experiencing a visual image, whether you're experiencing the visual image in your mind, your third eye, if you will, and on the visible light spectrum through your regular two eyeballs. Okay? You're experiencing the hologram, the simulator. So you're in a projection system. In the movie, we're experiencing the movie. All you have to do is open up an old 35 millimeter, pick your particular brand, whether it's a Canon or a Nikon or a Kodak, or a Hasselblad. Remember the Hasselblad cameras that went up on some of the space shots that went up, right? Mercury program, all those. My father worked in those programs. But anyway, I thought about the math function here, right? And I thought, here's a calculation for you because I ran this. If you start with the inception, the beginning, the first creation, if you will, right? And then I began thinking about a reptilian, a pure predator, okay? Something that has absolutely no love to give, no empathy, and no compassion. Okay, so if you look at, for example, a lizard in the wild that's hatched from the egg, the mother itself does not give that lizard any love, any compassion, any empathy. It's one of the reasons I found out they kill off their own. Okay, so they see things as resource utilization. Everything is a resource, an asset. So I remember thinking about this because I had a conversation with Patty Broussard. Actually, I was having a conversation with her, but there were other times in which there were just discussions that I was aware of because I was listening and watching, but also part of a group discussion in which certain things were talked about. And I remember she mentioned something about going back in time. And of course, I know this because I remember as a child, anything that's been created, we can go back in time and uncreate it. We just know this. And you just simply know it because you know what you are and how fast you run. Through your own experiences. Your experiences are your teachers. What you're experiencing is informing you of how the universe works. Okay? Now, you can describe it in numbers if you want. That's cool. Go ahead and do that. Math can be fun. But here was a calculation I did in me, and I thought, okay, let's go back to the inception of a reptilian. Okay? Before they were created. Can we do that? Yes, we can. I know that. Because if you're source connected and you are what source is, then source is aware of when the first inception of a reptilian came about. Now, do you think source itself would be happy and joyful to know that something was created that is now going to consume and use its energy in which to consume, strip souls, and do what they do to children? Now, for me, I don't find that acceptable. Because if you are what love is and love is the law, then we can't allow that, can we? So if we know how to go back in time, we know how to uncreate them, don't we? But here's the problem, and here's the calculation. When you consider a frame rate, an image that you're experiencing on the visible light spectrum, okay, in a classroom, anywhere you happen to be for that matter, imagine how many timelines is represented by an experience that is represented by the fracture of a timeline as a result of trauma that a soul experienced. How many souls, since the inception of a reptilian, has suffered trauma? The split of their timeline. How many souls is that? How many light fractures does that represent? If you are what love is in living spirit, and you represent the inception of all creation, then you can do the calculation of everything that has or ever will be that has suffered trauma as a result of what? Loss of entropy. A soul is experiencing the loss of its own energy. How does that happen? So if we are what love is and we are not what that is and we're not supposed to experience that, how do you correct that for every soul that has or ever will be? So how many timelines are represented by a fracture in the original timeline, which is 0 point, for every soul that was affected by, that is linked to another event, to another soul, that is represented by experiences that are all linked collectively in consciousness to the first reptilian? That's like rearranging the deck chairs, which is rearranging all the links that are represented by all the individual psychic timelines of every being that is linked to an event that underlies the causality of a reptilian. That's an enormous calculation. Because any time that you decide to change an event, let's say, for instance, I jumped into a timeline, and all of the events that represent each frame of experience, and I don't experience any trauma at all in that classroom until my 54th year. Now, this is just an example. And on the 54th year, all of a sudden, I become aware of a predator, okay? And right in front of my face, it eats my child, okay? And then it comes after me. Now, that'll only happen over the course of maybe 23 seconds if you want to put it under a time clock. Okay? All the previous events that happened on my timeline from the inception of when I came in there, and my soul, which includes all the events I've ever experienced since inception of my soul, is all linked now to the 54th year, to that event. Because then you have all the post-events, all the other events that are linked to the previous event. So now you have inception, present moment, future past, proves past. That's a lot of events. How about if you just remove all the events? Go back to the inception. So that everything that represented all those links to the 54th year of that event, that was only, 23 seconds? Is in memory. So if you have no memory because you are what love is in the purest sense of the word, because you're running so much fire, then you're not ever experiencing anything less than what love is, are you? So I had to figure that out when I was a child. I'm not supposed to experience anything less than love is, no matter where I'm at. So imagine that Source has to say that to itself. I'm not supposed to experience anything less than what love is. Anywhere, ever. So how many deck chairs, how many singular events that relate to a single event of trauma by any predator? So now we can start to quantify the sum of the light that is lost over the course of the evolution of the entire cosmos. Run that calculation. So here's something I thought about 5 minutes ago. If I am what love is in living spirit, and I know that to be true, and I honestly believe in my heart that no matter how big any other spirit is, whether it's a goddess or a god, and they have an enormous amount of energy, if for ever one moment I ever believed that love was not the most powerful energy in the world, the cosmos, which is eternal, if I ever doubt that, even begin to doubt that, my light fractures. So we have to believe that love is the most powerful energy to transmute and change anything that is less than what that is. Or we are not what we say what we are. We become a contradiction of the light that we say that we use to experience who we are. So I thought I'd leave that for all of you to think about for the day, if you choose to want to think about it. Because these are some of the things that I contemplate. And that's just one perspective. Have a great day. I got more geese over here. I was talking to them a few minutes ago to ask them, how are things going? What's your compass telling you? Anyway, I love you all. Have a great day. We're headed in the right direction.